Introducing the new Volvo XC90 with 7-seat versatility, Google built-in, and advanced safety features for all your precious cargo. The new Volvo XC90, designed for life. Visit volvocars.com/US to learn more.
This summer, try the new Strato Frappuccino blended beverage at Starbucks. It's the classic blended iced coffee you know and love, now topped with a creamy layer of handcrafted brown sugar cold foam. Available for a limited time. Your Strato Frappuccino is ready at Starbucks.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Checking off the boxes on your to-do list is a great feeling. And when it comes to checking off coverage, a State Farm agent can help you choose an option that's right for you. Whether you prefer talking in person, on the phone, or using the award-winning app, it's nice knowing you have help finding coverage that best fits your needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Hello and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. We are so excited to bring you this show.
Our podcast is all about unraveling all of your favorite mysteries from the Assassin's Creed games. Each episode we'll be talking about a different topic in the Assassin's Creed universe. From Pieces of Eden, solar flares, and the Isu, to the Hidden Ones, the Order of Ancients, and of course, the Animus. We will seek to uncover it all.
So join us and maybe even take a leap of faith.
My name is Shelby. You also know me as She-Cup.
And I'm Austin or Teacup.
That's right. And we are back with one more episode in this season. I think we are going to come back and do some more Assassins versus Templars. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But this is probably the finale of season 6. And we are going to take a little bit of a break after this episode. But we'll talk more to that in the middle of the show. So I'm going to turn it over to Austin to tell us who we're talking about today.
So we are taking a journey to South America, which I think this is our first South American person that we've talked about in this series.
Perhaps.
We spent a lot of time in North America. We spent a lot of time in Eurasia.
And Asia, yeah.
And Asia. And we've done some in Africa. And so I think Australia is the only continent we haven't.
You mean... Yeah, Australia after this one.
Yes, it's the only continent.
We'll have to get an Australian when we come back.
We will. But, okay, so we are talking about Hugo Chávez, who is pretty famous when you talk about, especially when people talk about famous communist leaders, even though we're going to talk about, was he actually a communist? It's up for debate. And so there's a lot under this. Like he was the Venezuelan politician, revolutionary, military officer. He was the 52nd president of Venezuela from 1999 until his death in 2013.
I don't think I realized that he died that recently.
Yes. He didn't actually. I just realized, I thought he ruled Venezuela for a lot longer than Like he's
14 years.
Yeah, I mean he's a political activist and like in the thing for a long time. His main. This is also the latest I think that we have ever talked about someone because his main. Well, no,
Nelson Mandela.
They're about the same time.
Yeah. Because I think Mandela died in like 2012, maybe.
Yes.
So literally the same time period.
Yes. And their revolutions are around the same time. So Chavez was also a leader of the Fifth Republic movement political party from its foundation in 1997 until 2007 when it merged with other parties to form the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, which he led until 2012. So we're going to talk a little bit about what he did, and then we're going to get into like one big thing that he does, and then we're going to get into some of his political beliefs. So in 1992, shout out to Austin, who was born that year.
Hey, don't dox yourself, listener.
I didn't put a month or anything on there. Chavez led a coup attempt against the Venezuelan government. And so we're going to backtrack to 1989. Carlos Andres Perez was elected president, and although he had promised to oppose the International Monetary Fund's policy, which is this group that was kind of very capitalist and very like oppressive in Venezuela, once he took office, he enacted economic policies that's supported by the IMF. This obviously angers the public. It angers people who voted for him, and he ran on false promises. So Perez, the president, in an attempt to stop widespread lootings and protests that followed his spending cuts, Perez initiated the Plan Avila, a military contingent plan by the Venezuelan army to maintain public order, and an outbreak of violent repression unfolded. So Chavez is in a group called the MBR 200, which is basically his military like group that he uses in the Venezuelan military. So allegedly, this group participated in this crackdown from Perez as he initiated the Venezuelan military in there. But Chavez did not. He was in the hospital. He was hospitalized with chicken pox. He later comes out and condemns this use of military force as genocide.
On the side of the current president Perez or on the side of the MBR 200 movement?
The MBR 200 movement participated in Perez's thing, but those were his people, and it's alleged that they participated. We don't actually have confirmation that they participated in there, but he condemns Perez's actions of military force against the people as genocide. I mean, lots of people died. So many people died. So he begins preparing a military coup known as Operation Zamora. The plan involved members of the military overwhelming military locations and communication installments, and then establishing Rafael Caldera in power once Perez was captured and assassinated. So he delays this coup, which was initially planned for December. He basically enacts it in the early twilight hours of the 4th of February, 1992. So 5 army units under Chavez's command moved into urban Caracas. Despite years of planning, the coup quickly encountered trouble since Chavez commanded the loyalty of less than 10% of the Venezuelan military. After numerous betrayals, defections, errors, and other unforeseen circumstances, Chavez and a small group of rebels found themselves hiding in the military museum, unable to communicate with the other members of their team. Chavez eventually gives himself up to the government and appeared on television in uniform to call on the remaining coup members to lay down their arms. Chavez remarks in this speech that they had failed only por Aurora for now. Venezuelans, particularly poor ones, began seeing him as someone who stood up against the government corruption. And so, like, this is the beginning of his, like, limelight into this, like, revolutionary political person. So he does eventually go to prison for this rally, and his leaders go to prison. But in the eyes of the public, he was someone who fought against the Venezuelan government. So it fails because he doesn't have the support of the military, but he does have the support of the public.
It's just interesting to me because it's like, and I mean, I guess this is just part and parcel of people who take over governments. But it's funny that it's like the people are like, oh, he's a man of the people. He's a man of the people. Like, he's for us. We love him. But like, he's always been involved in the government. Like, okay. Like, he's a government. He's in the government. Like, it's not like he's just random Joe Schmo off the street that's raising a coup and becomes president. Like, no, he was involved. Like, he was a politician. He was an activist. Like, he was in this.
He also comes from a middle-class family. And this is important because when you compare him to someone like Fidel Castro, when you compare him to someone like Nelson Mandela, like Mao Zedong, these other revolutionary leaders, almost all of them come from lower middle class, low class, agrarian kind of families. Chavez does not.
Right. Or it's like very, typically it's like you have come from a lower class and have moved your way up and are almost advertising and marketing yourself on that lower class, or you've come from wealthy families and are using your family's money to buy your way in.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this is different.
Yes, it is different.
All right, well, let's get into our mid-break.
All right, we can do that.
Eczema isn't always obvious, but it's real. And so is the relief from Ebglyss. After an initial dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Searching for real relief? Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
Love espresso, drip coffee, and cold brew? With the Ninja Luxe Cafe, if you can crave it, you can brew it. Espresso, balanced. Drip coffee, rich. Cold brew in a flash. With Barista Assist technology, you brew with no stress and no guesswork and make perfect silky microfoam hands-free from dairy or plant-based milks. Shop the Ninja Luxe Cafe at ninjakitchen.com.
You set the table, put on a playlist, even made the lasagna from scratch. And now you're wearing it. OxyClean Max Force Spray tackles tough, set-in stains the first time. Adulting is hard. Fighting stains shouldn't be. OxyClean Max Force. It's not clean unless it's OxyClean.
Ma cos'è? Shoot! Shoot a flying demon!
Quite a carriage you got there. Where did you buy it, if you don't mind me asking?
Ask all you want, Freddy. You'll never get an answer.
Damn it all. Was it my eyebrows?
Yes, and your face, voice, and body.
What have you done? We used them. They were not ready for firing. You could have gotten us all killed. Let me see. His breath is more fatal than our cannons. Only when you two fools are shooting them. There, try it.
All right, so the first thing that I have to tell you is that the middle of the show is where we talk about all the things that have to do with the lore cast and not the lore of Assassin's Creed. So thank you to all of our patrons. We had an awesome episode last time around with one of our patrons. And if you want to join us on those patron chat episodes, you can by signing up at the $20 tier or higher. And even if you can't sign up at that tier, there are other tiers lower with some great benefits too. And I also have some reviews to read today because that's the next best way to support us. And since this is our last episode of season 6, I'm just going to read all the ones that we've got pending. So buckle up. The first one comes from Cabooses Blue, who commented on our Shadows deep dive and said, I absolutely agree with your opinion of the Shinbaku. They revealed the master way, way too early in the story. Most of the group was indeed forgettable. There was one member that I saw 2 ways to defeat, and the Tepo's execution was brutal in my playthrough. I went through the tea ceremony in such a way that she took Naue back to her house and ended up being shot in the face with her own weapon. Still loving y'all's podcast. Thank you so much for that awesome review. And if you want to talk more about Shadows, definitely hop in the Discord. The next one is also on the Shadows deep dive, and it's from Odysseus54, who commented and said, "Great episode. I love the show. 10 out of 10. Aiden C. commented on our John Lennon episode and said, "I've been listening to your podcast for a while now, and this episode marks my finally catching up to the present, which I'm really sad about because I love listening to episodes during my morning workouts. I'm a huge fan of Assassin's Creed, so I love getting to sink my teeth into all the information Austin brings, and I always look forward to Shelby's playthrough updates, and the Cups banter is extremely entertaining. I definitely plan to listen to your other podcasts as well." Thank you so much for leaving that awesome review. And you are not going to have very many episodes coming up in the future because this is our last episode for probably about 2 months, maybe a month and a half. We're unsure of when we're going to come back for season 7. But the reason why, if you haven't been in the loop, is because we're having a baby, and that baby is coming very soon after the release of this episode, like just a couple days after we release this episode. So we're taking some time off to be with our family and get our routine down with the new baby before we come back to the show. And so we will come back eventually to the podcasts. Don't feel like, oh, they just quit, they're done, whatever. We will come back. It's just going to be a hot minute, several hot minutes. So that's the plan. But if you want to stay connected with us, you can do so by joining our Discord server. We'll still be active there while we're on break from the podcast. So if you want to come see pictures of the baby or, talk about any episodes or any lore that may happen with the next stuff we're getting from Shadows, the Discord is the place to do it. And so with that, I think we're ready to get back into it.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso Virtual Coffee Machines. Ready to enjoy the bold flavors of barista-quality Nespresso iced coffee at home? Simply fill a glass with ice and press the brew button on your virtual pop machine to enjoy rich double espressos roasted to stand up even when chilled. Refreshingly bold iced coffee. Refreshingly easy to make at home. Visit Nespresso.com to shop now.
The summer sun hums, and all you crave is something cold and crisp. So you pour it. An icy cocktail made with Tequila Don Julio. Crafted with 100% Blue Weber agave, born under the Mexican sun, and made to be shared when the day runs long and the light gets golden. Shop now at donjulio.com. Please drink responsibly. Don Julio Tequila, 40% alcohol by volume, imported by Diageo Americas, New York, New York.
Are you ready to dairy-free your mind? This summer, melt away your dairy-free expectations with So Delicious dairy-free frozen desserts. Enjoy mind-blowing flavors like salted caramel cluster, chocolate cookies and cream, cookie dough, and more. For over 35 years, So Delicious has been cranking up the flavor with show-stopping products that are 100% dairy-free, certified vegan by Vegan Action, and are so unbelievably creamy, your taste buds will do a double take. Dairy-free your mind. Visit SoDeliciousDairyFree.com.
Malaka. But that madman, the self-proclaimed Bishop of the Ruins, is our biggest critic. He calls our playing the Devil's Bagpipes.
I will sleep with anyone as long as they agree to be executed in the morning.
Like Xantivis.
He was well satisfied with his bargain. Who is this toothsome fellow?
My queen, this is,
Well?
It is a generous offer, but I've already pledged my life to this woman.
Aya, you have chosen well.
So we're going to talk about, is Chavez a leftist or not? And I use the term leftist because that's the term that is used in a lot of times, but we're really talking about, he gets a lot of terms thrown at him during his time. Marxist, communist, socialist, leftist, all these kinds of things. So he was described as a leftist by like historians and the media, with one kind of journal stating he was billed as the hemisphere's second leftist leader after Cuba's Fidel Castro. He does get a lot of comparison to Fidel Castro, and he does spend some time with Fidel Castro. He's mentored by him a little bit, and so that is an important relationship that enters this. In a 1996 interview, Chavez stated, "I am not a Marxist, but I am not an anti-Marxist. I am not a communist, but I am not an anti-communist." In 1999, Chavez told the New York Times that if you are attempting to determine whether Chavez is of the left, right, or center, if he is a socialist, communist, or capitalist, well, I am none of those, but I have a bit of all of those. And then in a 1998 interview, Chavez stated, "I am not a socialist. I believe that today's world, Latin America, and the world to come require a leap forward. We are going beyond socialism and even savage capitalism." I have a lot of thoughts about this. The first of us, if you're going to use the phrase savage capitalism, odds are that you're probably somewhere in the communist socialist spectrum.
That's fair. I also feel like this is a very non-political answer, but I also think that this answer reflects with a lot of people because, like, maybe not right now in America, but like generally, most people throughout history are not identifying themselves by what economic principles they most align with. Like, most people identify themselves as like, oh, well, I'm this religion, or like, I have this many children, or like, I'm a mom, or I'm a dad, or I'm whatever, or this is what I do for work. They're not saying like living and dying by I'm a communist or not whatnot. And so I feel like most people, most level-headed, intelligent, normal people who are not living and dying by politics or politicians will say, yeah, there are things in all of these economic systems that I can get behind, and there are things in all of these economic systems that I don't love. And that's how I feel personally. Like, yeah, there's a lot of things about capitalism I don't like. There are some that I think are necessary, and the same is true for the others too.
Right. And I think it is worth noting that the end of the 80s and the 90s, like in the United States, is a less partisan time than it has been before that and after.
That's true.
And so like I think like this idea of like I'm beyond these boundaries resonates with a lot of people. I mean, there are a lot of people who in America, in the United States, who were sympathetic with Hugo Chavez.
Yeah. I mean he's like an icon for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that. And I mean, I do think that when you are a person who doesn't come from like a quote unquote historic political family, meaning like the Bush family, who's, you know, they've had many, many, many people in their family who are politicians and they're like raised under that kind of scrutiny, I think you have a tendency to like connect more with the people because you're closer to them. Like, you were just a normal person. But like when you're raised and like raised as a Kennedy, like you're kind of raised on that public perception almost.
Exactly. Like, and like you're expected to be in politics, whether you should be or not.
Or whether you want to be or not.
Yes. But yeah, so he's got all of this like back and forth with this. He does speak out against what he calls savage capitalism or neoliberal capitalism. And just capitalism in general in various speeches. During his first electoral campaign, Chavez made clear that his rejections of what he called savage capitalism. So again, like these are these kind of like almost communist and socialist remarks of like capitalism as an oppressive system, which is it's a very, very popular sentiment outside of the United States.
Well, and I think what we have to understand in the United States is we reap the benefits of capitalism. People in other parts of the world, they suffer under the effects of capitalism because we take and they give. You know, we take the product, we take we consume, and people who are from places like Venezuela, South America in general, their products are the ones that we're taking. So I think it's an understandable viewpoint.
So he wanted greater state intervention in the economy, but he did like build up the private sector a little bit. He promoted the development of the national industry. This is my favorite quote from him because I just think it's really, really funny. But he said in 2009, he said, "I am a Marxist to the same degree that Christians are the followers of the ideas of Jesus Christ," which can either be a damning condemnation on Christianity or saying like, I am a Marxist.
Yeah, it sounds to me like a little bit more of a critique of Christians. It very much reminds me of the phrase from Gandhi where he says basically like, I like your Christ, I don't like your Christians. That's kind of the same vein I'm reading it in.
I get that. He was well versed in Marxist theory, and he often quoted Marxist theoreticians and Marx himself in speeches. Various international Marxists like Fidel Castro, like Mao Zedong, like supported his government, believing it a sign of the proletariat revolution, as predicted, like the grand revolution. So like that. And like I just want to like leave here with his central points of his policy. Latin America should have economic and political sovereignty. I think this is in keeping with the theme, like South Africa is cutting its ties with apartheid and the British Empire, even though they weren't technically a colony at that point. But like this is something that has been happening since the end of World War II, when all these European countries that came together and said, okay, we're going to stop having colonies. And so like this happens. Grassroots political participation of the population via popular votes and referendums. I want to say that I was reading about this. Under him, they voted electronically, but then they got a paper receipt of their votes. And then the electronic votes were compared with the paper receipts. And so this made like voter fraud nigh impossible.
Interesting.
And now they vote with biometric identification.
I don't want that though.
Right,
like
right.
I'm like,
but
I don't know if that's a good
like,
thing.
He made these huge steps to ensure that like voting is authentic to the populace and fighting against corruption. And then economic self-sufficiency, instilling in people a national ethic and patriotic service, which sounds like the Protestant work ethic.
Yeah.
Which I think is funny. Equitable distribution of South America's vast natural resources and eliminating corruption. And we'll come back to these in our discussion later, but like this is a pretty socialist agenda.
But it's not though. Like the only one that I think is like truly socialist is and even this is borderline, is the equitable distribution of their resources. And like I don't know, I just feel like that's really less about, oh well, we need to make sure that the rich and the poor of our country are on equal footing, and more about, okay, well, we need to make sure that these other first world countries aren't just completely taking all of our resources away from our own people. Mm-hmm. Which to me, that's not really about socialism, capitalism, anything. It's more just about protecting your own country and your own people.
I think like after reading this, I think where I would land on this is like he is not a leftist or I don't even know what a rightist. I don't even know what the term is. But I think he's Venezuelan.
Yeah.
Like he's a nationalist.
Yes.
In a way of like, my priority is Venezuela.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Almost in an isolationist kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
But like he's also not an isolationist because he does like want to partner with other countries and create.
Less isolationist and more self-sufficiency.
Yes. But yeah, I think that like if you really pushed him to say, what are you? Like identify yourself, he would say, I'm Venezuelan. A little fun fact, he also is quoted in supporting conspiracy theories such as the fake Apollo 11 moon landing, like that he believes in that, and he believes the 9/11 terrorist attacks were staged. I'm not going to go into those theories, but I just think those are funny. Due to increasing oil prices in the early 2000s, which basically gave Venezuela so much money that they hadn't seen since the 80s, Chavez created the Bolivarian missions. And so these are aimed at providing public services to improve economic culture and social conditions. These populist policies, he used these populist policies to maintain political power. And I do think that he is kind of a populist. I think that like he is almost a textbook definition of a populist.
And that's not a bad thing.
No.
I mean, like Bernie Sanders is a populist.
Correct.
Even Donald Trump is a populist.
Yes.
Because really, at the end of the day, a populist is a person who capitalizes on what the people want.
Correct.
And transfers that into politics. So like a populist is not necessarily bound to any one political party. Now, the populism of the early 20th century, that is tied to a particular party, but just general populist movements are not.
And it's like one saying, like with Donald Trump, like on one hand, he enacts policies that strip healthcare away from people, but then on the other time, he's enacted policies that like the overtime stuff that he's pushed, like these are populist things that he's trying to make the people who support him happy.
Right.
Is not a bad position to take, but can be dangerous if it's the only position you ever take.
Yeah. Fair.
So kind of less nice. Under Chavez administration, crimes were so prevalent that in 2007, the government just stopped producing crime data. Homicide rates in Venezuela more than tripled, with one NGO finding the rate to have nearly quadrupled. The majority of the deaths occurred in crowded slums in Caracas. In 2008, the Human Rights Watch released a report reviewing Chavez's human rights record over his first decade in power. The reports praised his 1999 amendments to the Constitution, which significantly expanded human rights guarantees, as well as mentioning improvements for women's rights and indigenous rights, but noted a wide range of government policies that have undercut the human rights protections established by revising the Constitution. So this report then accused Chavez of engaging in discrimination on political grounds, basically discriminating based on political party or political allegiance, eroding the independence of the judiciary, so like basically overriding the courts, and engaging in policies that have undercut journalists' freedom of expression, workers' freedom of association, and the civil society's ability to promote human rights in Venezuela. As a result of this report, the Venezuelan government expelled members of the Human Rights Watch from the country.
Well, all I'll say about this is that if you feel it's so necessary to expel members of the commission from your country for saying something that you don't like, you're probably guilty of what they had to say in the first place.
I would agree. And that's kind of where we're going to end, because he does a lot of similar things. On one hand, he will like fund public education and fund like roads and public policies and other things like that. And then on the other hand, he's limiting freedom of the press and freedom of speech and other things like that. There used to be a organization, and they're probably still around, I forget their name, but they used to rate countries on how free they were. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And they rated them as partially free, because they did have freedoms and they also didn't. And like, this is an exaggeration, but there is that Parks and Rec episode where the people from Venezuela come to them, and that's where the like TikTok sound of like, you do this, right to jail.
Right to jail.
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking of that earlier. I was like, was that Venezuela or not? I can't remember.
Or maybe it wasn't. I thought it was.
I think
but
it might be.
Yeah. But that is a big deal. There's way more that he does, and there's way more that he is involved in. But like, he is an icon of the 90s. Like, really like a world icon, as much like up there with Nelson Mandela, Fidel Castro, like all these people that were like big political world leaders in the 90s. Like, he is up there.
Yeah.
And so, because it's so late, there is no Assassin's Creed involvement. I mean, really, the only thing that we have from this time period in terms of Assassin's Creed like knowledge is the Great Purge,
which happens in the mid-2000s, right?
Yes, it happens right at the Bush election.
Okay, so 2000.
Yes.
Okay.
But like, and so like the 90s are like leading up to the Great Purge and all of that in Assassin's Creed. So like, that's really all. So like the Daniel Cross comics are really all we have about that. And like some memories from William Miles and like Desmond's time at the farm. But like, Desmond is an assassin post-Purge. Like, he's born in the 90s because he's like an adult in 2012. So there is that kind of thing, but like,
but this is kind of almost like a missing decade. Like, we just don't know a lot about the universe.
We don't know a lot from like 1990 to 2012.
Right.
Because that's when the series starts, in 2012.
Okay.
And so like we know like some things that happened of like the Bush administration and things like that, but like really, I mean, that's our lifetime. Like that, I would consider that time period of like present life. Like that's present memory of like everyone alive. That's over almost everyone over the age of 18 was alive during that time period. There's like half of Gen Z that is
current 18-year-old were born in like
2007.
Yeah.
So
not quite.
But like most people
Right.
above the age of 21.
Most adults, yeah.
Most people in the workforce have memories of the early 2000s and the 90s.
Yeah, fair. So Assassin or Templar is where we're heading.
Yes, because there is no Assassin's Creed like in official involvement. This is the hardest one I've ever had to do.
I completely disagree. Are you kidding?
Oh, you think he's an assassin?
No.
Oh, you think he's a Templar?
Way. Yes. Oh my God.
Okay. Well,
okay, I'll just go. I think that this is a person who has good intentions, and then when they got into power, was very quickly corrupted by their power. I think in the beginning, he really cared for his people and cared for Venezuela and wanted to make his country better. And I think you can see that in like the early changes to the Constitution. And then as he maintained power, it kind of devolves. And, you know, you see that in like the increasing crime rates, kicking out journalists, eroding the judiciary, like all of those things. And so I feel like this is a person who maybe started out not involved with either Assassin or Templar, but once he got into power, met Templars and became one. And I feel like just all of the stuff about the homicide rate increasing and the discriminating based on your political party, eroding the judges and the judiciary, and getting rid of journalism and all of this kind of stuff is very classic Templar because it all comes back to consolidating power. And I do think that that's something he did well. I mean, he amassed significant centralized power during his presidency, and a way to do that and a way to keep that power is to curtail the freedom of the press. We see it time and time again throughout different political, both sides of the aisle, like liberal, conservative, whatever. Like, to do that is like, that's how you keep your power. And I don't know if he like utilized propaganda and any of that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know. But I feel like even though he's on this more leftist side, and with Fidel Castro too, like, this is a rigid top down, like, power, what is the right word? It's like this is a ideologically rigid structure, right? Like, we have consolidated all the power and we have it and nobody else can get it. Even though they may also advocate for socialist policies, this is like very classic Templar to me. And I think it's hard for Americans to see and understand, like, okay, well, something we may associate with quote unquote being liberal is not exact. Like, it doesn't add up to our Democrat and Republican political parties because the context is so different.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, a lot of these actions are so classically Templar, I can't see it any other way.
I think his early stuff probably, yeah, and would be someone like, that's what like gives me pause of like, well, maybe you did start out as an assassin or something like that. But like the fact that he like uses these populist movements to gain power. I mean, like, even the Templars championed the American Revolution when they realized the British were probably going to lose.
Right. I mean, even the Templars, they champion things when they know that they're on the losing side, you know? And I think in the more modern eras, both Assassins and Templars do this, but Templars do it to a higher degree, I think, where they're trying to play all sides of the field so that they're never wrong, so that they're never on the outside of whatever way the wind blows.
Right. And like with Abstergo now, like Abstergo is less concerned with political power because they have ultimate economic power. And in the world economy of our modern day, like
that's all that matters.
Yes. The economic power is really what's going to give you the most control.
I do want to hear, though, your kind of wrestling and thought process behind why you think he might be an assassin, just because you said it was the hardest decision.
Because I do think that this is going to sound so un-American of me, but I do feel like the socialist Marxist principles more closely align with assassin ideology than capitalism does.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with that. I just think personally, when we get out of like America and Europe, capitalism, socialism, communism, the context changes so much, especially in like South America, Africa, Asia. Like it's just different, and there's so much about it that we don't understand. And so I feel like there's much more blending, and like the lines aren't as clearly delineated as we like them to be in America.
Well, and like when you're dealing with in the Western European and United States culture, you're dealing with a highly individualized society. When we're looking at places outside of that framework are more communal. There's much a sense of like a collective society, and that's, I feel like capitalism and like pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps and like individual achievement is almost foreign to them, and so like their idea is foreign to us. And I do think that like at the end of the day, people say the assassins fight for freedom, and I think that they do, but at their core, I feel like they fight against oppression. Like they fight against people in power wielding it over those who don't. Like that is the principle that Bayek and I have found the order on.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
Yeah. And so I think at some time it came about like freedom of choice. Like people should be able to choose whatever path they want to go. It shouldn't be one that's forced upon them. I think that comes with fighting against oppression. And I think that Chavez, like his such like early on of like fighting against corruption, and it's like a classic tale of like you have become what you hated, and so like fighting against that kind of corruption is very assassin to me. So that's what like gave me pause or whatever. But I don't think for me it's not as clear and cut, but I see your points, and like your points are the ones I said, well, these are very Templar.
Yeah, I hear that. I just think for me it just all adds up. Like there's so much by the later years of his life.
Right. And like I feel like these have gotten progressively harder as we've gone on the series, because, like we did Harriet Tubman the first, and we were like, this is no discussion. Yeah. Like she's an assassin. Yeah. Like, let's go. Or things like that. And like, as we've progressed in these rulers, we're like, well, like
could be either.
People are complicated.
Yeah. Well, people are complicated. Yeah. And I mean, people have thoughts and beliefs and ideologies that contradict each other. And that's when it really becomes difficult.
Yeah. Well, that's all I really have on Hugo Chavez. This is not, I want to really preface this. This is a very, very like surface, like bird's eye view of Hugo Chavez. Like there are books, there are so much about this man and like his background and what made him think and who he was. And so I encourage you to like, do not take me and be like, I've learned everything I need to know about Hugo Chavez, because you have not.
Yeah, and that's true for every single person we've talked about in this entire season, because as we've always said, the research we've done and the things we've highlighted on these episodes are what pertains most to whether or not we think they're an assassin or a Templar.
Correct.
So definitely there's so much more you can learn if you're interested. Maybe that's something you could do while we're not releasing episodes. But
yeah,
as always, Austin, thank you so much for doing the research for this one. A definite great conversation we had. And thank you all so much for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. You can find us on Twitter at ACLorecast.
If you have any lore questions or topics to unpack, join our Cups Podcasting and More Discord server. It's the best place on the internet. You can also support us financially through our Patreon. Find us on patreon.com/Assassin's Creed Lorecast. The Assassin's Creed Lorecast is part of the Robots Radio Network. For more information about the Robots Radio Network, join the Discord server via the link in our episode's description.
If you enjoyed the show or learned something new today, please subscribe, leave us a review, and join the Patreon. And if you enjoyed our intro and outro music, make sure you give a big thank you to Pipeman Studios. Thank you, Pipeman. Thanks again for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. And always remember, Assassins, stay in the shadows to serve the light.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Alien Earth, the official podcast. Each week, host Adam Rogers is joined by guests, including the show's creator, cast, and crew, in this exclusive companion podcast. They will explore story elements, deep dive into character motivations, and offer an episode-by-episode behind-the-scenes breakdown of each terrifying chapter in this new series. Search FX's Alien Earth wherever you listen to podcasts.
Want to live better? We've got a lot of work to do. Join Chris Hemsworth in National Geographic's new Disney Plus original series, Limitless. Live Better Now.
I'm diving headfirst into cutting-edge science to uncover 3 powerful secrets to living better right now. The growth that occurs through any challenging experience is really what we seek.
Chris Hemsworth stars in Limitless. Live Better Now. Now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
It's showtime.